I'm Abigail Galván. Welcome to EWTN Pro-Life Weekly.
There are babies and toddlers who are alive today who wouldn't be without the Dobbs decision and without pro-life laws.
Celebrating the anniversary of Dobbs.
So making our voices heard for our legislators is absolutely crucial in this post-Dobbs era.
3 years after Roe v. Wade was overturned, a look at the state of abortion in the U.S. today.
People now think that they have a right to consequence-free sex.
And the cultural and political challenges that pro-lifers must continue to tackle. Plus,
pro-life leaders are learning how to harness artificial intelligence to save lives. I'm Alan Holden at the National Right to Life Conference in Overland Park, Kansas. That story coming up.
The historic moment, Roe v. Wade was overturned. Pro-lifers cheered in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, celebrating the win after 50 years of fighting for the preborn. This week marks 3 years since the Dobbs decision, in which justices held that the Constitution does not confer a right to abortion. This landmark ruling returned the abortion debate back to the states. The move sparked pro-life trigger laws in multiple states. It also sparked multiple lawsuits. The reality now is 50 different battlegrounds. Many states allow abortion nearly halfway through a pregnancy or up until birth. Some 24 have measures to protect life. 12 states have strong pro-life protections. Those are highlighted in green. There are exceptions when a mother's life is at risk or sometimes in cases of rape, incest, or fetal anomaly. 4 states, including Iowa, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida, have bans on abortion after 6 weeks. Nebraska and North Carolina protect life after 12 weeks. Utah after 18 weeks, and Missouri's Supreme Court has reimposed the state's pro-life laws despite it being legal in the state constitution. So for now, lives are being saved there, but it is an ongoing, complex legal issue. The rest of the country has either no limits on abortion or it is limited at viability. Wyoming and Montana have bans on abortion that are currently blocked, and abortion is legal there as of now. The fight for life is also ongoing federally. Pro-life activists are working to pull taxpayer dollars from Planned Parenthood. Right now, lawmakers on Capitol Hill are working on the budget reconciliation bill. A provision in the bill would defund the abortion giant. The Senate hopes to vote on the bill this week. And on the Dobbs anniversary, House and Senate Democrats reintroduced a bill in their chamber to guarantee access to abortion nationally.
We cannot have true equality in this country until we have reproductive freedom.
The Women's Health Protection Act of 2025 would codify abortion as a so-called right. It would also override state pro-life laws and prohibit states from limiting access to abortion. President Trump's once strong pro-life stance against the deadly procedure at any stage has waned considerably. The president has been a proponent of leaving so-called abortion rights up to the states, suggesting that abortion should be legal past 6 weeks, the time when the baby's heart starts to beat. As for the abortion pill mifepristone, Trump has said he will not restrict access to the deadly drug. The Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr., has since announced that he has directed the FDA to review the safety regulations of the abortion pill. The FDA chief, Marty Makary, wrote to Senator Josh Hawley that he is committed to doing a full review of the chemical abortion drug. Despite the president's position and multiple legal battles to enshrine abortion in states across the U.S., pro-life activists still make their voices heard.
When I say pro, you say life. Pro! Life! Pro!
Life! On Saturday, June 21st, pro-life advocates from across Iowa gathered at the state capitol in Des Moines for the Iowa March for Life. The day began with a rally inside the Iowa Capitol Rotunda, followed by a march around the Capitol and Supreme Court buildings. Around 200 pro-lifers showed up for the rally and 150 participated in the march. The Iowa March for Life is one of 19 state marches happening in the United States in 2025. Marches have already taken place in Oklahoma, Connecticut, and Indianapolis this year, to name a few. Jenny Bradley Lichter, president of the March for Life, joins us now to talk about the importance of every voice that calls for the protection of life. Jenny, thank you for being with us. How important is the incredible public witness to life that is the March for Life? What message do you think it's sending to our lawmakers?
Thanks for having me. It's always a joy to be with you here at EWTN. I would say that now, 3 years after the Dobbs decision, our mission at the March for Life and public witness generally is really more important than ever, because a visible, vocal, dedicated pro-life movement has more opportunity than ever to change the culture and to change laws. And the key thing about the Dobbs decision, right, was that it put more authority back in the hands of the elected representatives of the people to make laws impacting abortion, either protecting the unborn or making them more vulnerable to attack through abortion. So making our voices heard for our legislators is absolutely crucial in this post-Dobbs era. And of course, we're immersed in a culture that's very unfriendly to life, that denigrates motherhood and the family, and that treats unborn human beings as disposable. And there's nothing like the collective public witness of thousands upon thousands, here in DC, tens of thousands of people raising their voices together to show our cultural and media elites and our lawmakers that the pro-life movement is still dedicated and still here and will never stop standing up for the unborn.
And can you talk to us about the state marches for a minute? There are more and more every year. What are you seeing on the ground, and what do you think the impact of these marches is?
Thanks for asking. I love talking about the state marches. They're one of the absolute biggest joys of my new role here at the March for Life. We know that our movement is powered by hope, faith, and love, and that's really on display at the state marches. And what's fun about the state marches in particular is they feel like family reunions, in the sense that it's a local community coming together on a smaller scale than at the National March to really advocate to their own state representatives, to make their voices heard from an advocacy perspective, but to really encourage each other and lift each other up. And this past weekend in Iowa, that was really on display for me, where everywhere I went, I visited a pro-life health clinic, I met with supporters, I was at the march, of course, and everyone knows each other, and they're all just so excited to come together as a pro-life movement to lift up each other's ministries and organizations and work, to greet each other, and just to kind of take energy from being together.
Jenny, 2 questions for you here. First, do you see the Democrat bill that aims to legalize abortion federally getting support? And 2, are you hopeful that the budget reconciliation bill will actually be able to defund Planned Parenthood?
First, no. The Democrat bill trying to legalize abortion federally is not going to pass. The Democrats do this routinely. They don't have the votes, and more importantly, they don't have the support of the American people. The American people are pro-life, and polling just in the last couple of weeks has shown that public opinion is moving more and more towards life, especially among young people. So the Democrats don't have the support of the American people in what they're trying to do. In terms of reconciliation, yes, it looks like we are moving towards defunding Planned Parenthood through the reconciliation process, which is a long-sought goal of the pro-life movement, because it would, of course, save babies and protect women from the substandard health care provided by Planned Parenthood and other abortion providers. So we're very close to that process running its course. We should know within the next couple of weeks whether that's actually going to happen, but things are looking great. Please keep the prayers coming, everyone. We're on the right track.
Thank you so much, Jenny.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
At the city and state level, the fight for life is seeing wins and losses. In Illinois, a loss as an abortion clinic is advertising all trimester abortions. Hope Clinic Chicago announced on their Instagram page that they are expanding abortion, writing that they, quote, couldn't be more excited. The site says patients can receive an abortion up to 34 weeks of pregnancy. A baby is considered viable outside of the womb between 23 and 24 weeks. In Ohio, 2 lawmakers have introduced a first-of-its-kind pro-life legislation for the state. The Ohio Prenatal Equal Protection Act aims to abolish abortion in the state by granting legal personhood to every preborn baby from the moment of fertilization. It would also classify abortion as a homicide. The Ohio Right to Life's president has criticized the bill, telling a local newspaper that the bill goes too far because it criminalizes women. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has signed into law a bill that stops city councils from using taxpayer dollars to fund abortion travel and logistical support. It comes just days after a Texas Court of Appeals ruled against the city of San Antonio from doing just that. San Antonio appropriated some $400,000 to pay for people to travel out of state for abortions. The bill, SB 33, takes effect on September 1st of this year. There are many pro-life organizations working to protect the preborn legislatively at the state and federal level. Kelsey Pritchard is the political communications director of Susan B. Anthony America. I recently had the opportunity to get her take on the state of abortion in America. Kelsey, we're 3 years after the Dobbs decision. Can you talk to us about the state of abortion in the U.S. right now? What are the battleground states that we're watching?
Well, we are assessing the midterms right now and what will be competitive for House and Senate races. I know very soon we'll have an announcement on Virginia. There's some off-year elections in Virginia this November where their legislators are up, and there's a gubernatorial race, attorney general race, and we'll be getting involved there because there's a potential ballot measure that would allow abortion at any point in that state, and the legislature is the one that would have the ability to put that on the ballot. And so for this year, we're focused on Virginia, and we are still assessing where we're going to be on the ground next year.
Now, the budget reconciliation bill is still in the works, but so far it looks positive for defunding Planned Parenthood. What do you think the likelihood of that will be?
I think we are optimistic, and now we know there are still steps that we need to clear, and so we still have to get through the Senate, we have to get through conference committee, and then House and Senate votes again, and then to the president. And so we know there's a long process left, but we are really hopeful that this will be the year that we finally defund big abortion, because we shouldn't be subsidizing the #1 cause of death in this country, and we need to stop propping up abortion businesses with our tax money.
Now, the Supreme Court just agreed to hear a pro-life pregnancy center case out of New Jersey. First Choice Women's Resource Center is fighting a subpoena from the state attorney general. That subpoena seeks a list of its donors, advertisements, and medical personnel. What are you seeing on the ground with pro-life centers being targeted by state governments?
We're seeing a really disturbing trend in states like New Jersey, California, New York, where attorneys general are attacking pregnancy centers and their ability to provide free services and help to women in their states. I think one of the most disturbing things we've seen is this attempt to try to take away the ability to offer abortion pill reversal in some of these states. Colorado has tried to do that, and others have tried to do that as well. They are literally taking away a woman's choice to save her baby's life when she decides that she made a mistake in taking an abortion drug. Looking ahead, we have to address the problem with abortion drugs, because what President Trump sought to do was to give the states the ability to decide on the issue of abortion. And we have 23 states that have laws protecting life in the first trimester. But what is happening is that abortion drugs are being illegally sent from blue states into the red states. And you can do that by tapping your phone a few times. You don't need an in-person doctor visit. Oftentimes these drugs are put into the hands of an abuser or a trafficker, someone who poisons a pregnant woman unknowingly. And we need this to stop. We need the FDA to respond to the growing evidence that is showing that these drugs are not only dangerous and deadly for unborn children, but very dangerous to women as well.
Kelsey, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. God bless.
As we can see, pro-life organizations are very concerned with the proliferation of chemical abortions. The Ethics and Public Policy Center recently released a study on its dangers. The study found that the real-world rate of serious adverse events following mifepristone abortions is at least 22 times as high as what clinical trials reported on the drug label, which was less than 0.5%. I just spoke with Ryan Anderson, the president of the Ethics and Public Policy Center, about this study and what is most needed to truly build a culture for life. Ryan, the abortion pill is one of the biggest challenges to the pro-life movement. The EPPC conducted the largest known study on the abortion pill, and the Food and Drug Commissioner has been asked to look at the latest data. Is there any indication that the FDA will do so?
Sure, you're exactly right. It's now over 2/3 of all abortions are via chemical abortion pills. And so it's vitally important that the pro-life movement be on top of this issue. Thankfully, we've seen now that both the Secretary of HHS, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and the Commissioner of the FDA, Marty McCary, have sent letters to Senator Hawley saying that they are looking into the safety of mifepristone. What we found simply by looking at insurance claims data is that 10.93% of women who take the mifepristone abortion pill will suffer a serious adverse event. The FDA has access to all of this same data. We're confident that if they look into the data, they will see the same exact thing. And then what we're asking them to do is to reinstate the original safety protections, things like in-person doctor visits, things like in-person dispensing of the pill. Right now you can go online and you can get mail order abortion pills. That is not safe for women. They need to be under a doctor's care. They need to be visited by the doctor in a doctor's office. They need to be prescribed and then take the pill in a doctor's office. That's what the FDA originally required. And then we saw Obama and Biden get rid of those safety protections. So there's an opportunity for the Trump FDA to do the right thing by restoring the original Clinton era safety regs.
The way forward after Dobbs that you wrote for First Things, you talk about how the political and social order was corrupted by 50 years of Roe. You provided recommendations on political and cultural areas to promote life. Can you give a brief overview of those recommendations for our viewers? And have your reflections changed since you wrote your article in October?
Sure. I mean, it's more or less an all hands on deck moment for the pro-life cause. We're 3 years post-Dobbs, and the first thing we should do is we should celebrate. We no longer have an unjust, unconstitutional Supreme Court precedent, Roe v. Wade, really kind of tying the hands of states that want to protect unborn babies. There are now children who are learning to talk precisely because 3 years ago, the Supreme Court allowed certain states, I mean, they allowed all of the states, but only certain states took up the invitation to protect the babies. And so we now have 3-year-olds learning to talk because of this victory. But we also saw some setbacks. We saw that in many states, they passed restrictive laws, protective laws at the state house, and then citizens went to the ballot box and they repealed those laws. We need to be winning hearts and minds. We also need to be combating the sexual revolution. You know, one of the things that you asked is like, no, has anything changed in my analysis? And I would say, if anything, I'm more convinced than ever that the underlying cause of abortion are the unhealthy sexual practices that Americans have been catechized into during the past 50 years. People now think that they have a right to consequence-free sex. And so if they have sex and they have a baby, they think they have a right to get rid of that consequence. So we also really need to be not just focusing on a pro-life movement, but also looking at a pro-chastity, pro-marriage movement. The best protectors for unborn babies and their mothers are husbands, fathers, which means marriage. So there's a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, and this leads into our next question. So there are parts of the big, beautiful bill that support IVF, and there are also some pro-family initiatives. Is it the job of the government to promote families, or is that the job of the church?
It's both. It's both the job of the state and the church to promote the truth about marriage and to help people form and stay married. This can be things like the child tax credit. This can be things simply by defining marriage correctly in the law. We also saw that in the One Big Beautiful Bill, they're creating a new universal tax credit, which would create school choice. If the current version were to be enacted, this would create a federal school choice program. I think that would be a boon for families, especially those who are stuck in blue states where they don't have access to state school choice programs. So I think there is work for the church to do in promoting marriage and family. There's work for the state to do in promoting a marriage and family. The key is not to create perverse incentives. I think a lot of policies that could be claimed to be pro-family, for example, IVF, are actually quite misguided, and in the case of IVF, downright unjust.
And now we're hitting on the 10-year anniversary of the Supreme Court decision on Obergefell, which legalized same-sex unions. You were at the forefront of pointing out the detrimental nature of these unions. Do you have any reflections you share with us now?
Sure. I mean, I think nothing has changed in the past decade that would make Obergefell a good ruling. The Supreme Court got the Constitution wrong. And in doing so, it allowed the 5 liberal members of the court to redefine what marriage is in all 50 states. We're still seeing the consequences for this when it comes to religious liberty violations. Catholic Charities in Philadelphia had to go all the way up to the Supreme Court simply to remain free to find loving homes with moms and dads for kids. We've seen bakers and florists and photographers who've been harassed because of this. And then I think we saw what the T meant. A decade ago, we were only talking about the LGB part of the acronym. Shortly thereafter, the activists pivoted to the T. I think underlying all of this is we have to recover a sound understanding of our embodiment as male and female, and the reason why we are embodied as male and female to form a one flesh union in marriage.
Thank you, Ryan.
Yep, thank you.
Ryan Anderson has written extensively on many angles of the pro-life movement in the monthly journal First Things. Take a look at firstthings.com to read his work. In other news, we continue to follow a life measure in the United Kingdom. Members of British Parliament narrowly passed an assisted suicide bill last Friday.
Terminally ill adults, end-of-life bill.
After months of emotional debates and multiple amendments, the bill passed by just 23 votes. The law would allow terminally ill adults expected to die within 6 months to ask to end their life.
We're very concerned about the institutions like care homes and hospices. We would like to have freedom that a Catholic nursing home or a Catholic hospice is able to have its own ethos and keep it free from assisted dying.
The measure now heads to the House of Lords. It will face further scrutiny. Coming up, remaining competitive in tackling the pro-abortion narrative.
AI plus pro-life equals more babies in America, and that's exactly what we're doing here, basically equipping activists with the skills and tool sets that they need to succeed.
The annual event that is helping the pro-life movement evolve as quickly as technology does. That story when we return. Welcome back to EWTN Pro-Life Weekly. I'm Abigail Galván. While Planned Parenthood has reported that they are closing clinics across the U.S., that hasn't stopped the proliferation of abortion across our country. But as the fight for life continues, pro-life leaders are gathering to strategize and innovate. The oldest and largest national pro-life organization in the U.S. held its 54th annual conference last weekend in Kansas. As EWTN News' Alan Holdren reports, they are learning how the latest technology, artificial intelligence, can be harnessed to promote life.
In the Kansas City metro area, pro-life leaders from across the United States meet for the annual National Right to Life Conference. It's a once-yearly opportunity to compare notes, coordinate, regroup, and deploy.
Our people are excited. We have an opportunity to protect unborn babies. We know that in some states that's obviously gotten more difficult, but our people's determination has not changed, has not waned. We're going to be fighting for those babies in red states, blue states, and purple states.
More than 400 people participate, including National Right to Life representatives from most U.S. states. This annual idea exchange prepares them for the battles being fought back in their states.
It helps me to kind of realize that I'm not here alone in this fight, and it really is encouraging.
This is a long-term fight. We learn different things from different states, how to be more compassionate, how to be more effective as on the political side? What are some of our best practices?
We are laser focused on reigniting a pro-life Minnesota, and we're doing that by encouraging and equipping and educating people on how to have real conversations on really difficult issues. So how do I talk to people who don't yet agree with me on this issue?
Precisely to keep the pro-life movement on the pulse, the schedule is full of talks about topics like navigating the politics and propaganda around euthanasia and amplifying the pro-life message through storytelling on digital media and podcasts.
But there's one topic that you don't often see associated with pro-life events, and that's how pro-lifers can responsibly leverage artificial intelligence to save lives.
ChatGPT is 2.5 years old. 2.5 years old. And in 2.5 years, it has radically transformed the way that we can do pro-life activism in our everyday lives.
AI guru Stephen Rowe is giving them a masterclass in this technology.
I'm really advocating that people in the pro-life movement leverage AI tools, including ChatGPT and others, to make sure that they are getting the best bang for their buck. We're turning soldiers into super soldiers for politics simply because they'll be able to do more. It's like the smartest best friend as you're at your left-hand side that can answer those questions when you're like, oh, is this press release correct? Or is this the right format for a tweet? This best friend, this AI tool is really supercharging what's possible. And so I'm agnostic as to what they should use, but they should leverage AI technology to really expand their impact. The first question I get is AI going to take people's jobs? And I really think the answer is people who are using AI are going to run over people that are not. And that especially applies in politics. So when you're talking about the opposite side of the pro-life movement, what they're trying to do is use this against you in a lot of ways. And so it's so important that everybody is on the same level playing field. Artificial intelligence is like electricity, and the pro-life movement can't hold candles while other people are using light bulb switches to move their technology forward. And so it's so important to equip our pro-life activists with the right tools they need to be successful, and that's AI.
In the crowd, there are people, of course, already using it for the good fight.
Before, I used to go through spreadsheet after spreadsheet of election data, and I'm starting to use AI to help analyze election results, also look at polling results from a different standpoint. You know, it's not perfect, but as time goes on, we're really learning how to leverage that.
There's a consensus here that in order to go toe-to-toe with abortion proponents, the pro-life movement needs to be adept at using the best technology out there. And now, that includes AI. In Overland Park, Kansas, Alan Holdren, EWTN Pro-Life Weekly.
That does it for this edition of EWTN Pro-Life Weekly. Be sure to like and follow us on our social media channels. You can find us at EWTN Pro-Life on X, Facebook, and Instagram. And sign up for our newsletter, The Pro-Life Pulse, EWTN.com/pro-life. Remember, life is a gift. Your life is a gift. God bless.